Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, figured I should put up another video, and I am really sorry that I don't have my camera with me. I completely forgot to bring it. I was actually meaning to do this video earlier, but I'm actually working a double shift right now, and I was rushing to get out the door so I wouldn't be there late. And with me rushing out, I forgot a few things, like my lunch, as well as my camera. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to put up with the voice recording. Again, I apologize. I'm currently, well, sort of currently, having an interesting conversation with some dude, Christian dude, who commented on my last video, The Disconnect. Some of you guys might already be seeing this conversation on there through the comments section, where he criticized me for hating the Bible and hating Christianity, even though I didn't say any of those things in that video. But it's the sort of thing that I pretty much, I half expected, because I noticed whenever you make any sort of criticism about not even necessarily Christianity, but the people who claim to follow it, sooner or later you're going to have somebody who claims that you must hate them, and even though you've never said anything. My criticism was against the people who claim to, be all about its teachings and its values, but then when you actually see how they act, or the particular philosophies they live day by day, it doesn't match the doctrine at all, save in some of the more hateful aspects. Like, okay, if it comes to the point of ostracizing certain people who don't fit their doctrine, then oh yeah, they're all for that. But when it comes time to, going with the more benevolent aspects of the religion, such as, especially in the political climate of the U.S., when it comes to taking care of the downtrodden, or, trying to give them a leg up, being willing to share resources with them, eschewing the lifestyles of the rich and the decadent in favor of, the destitute and, those who can't help themselves. Now, they're against that shit. So, it's interesting that the ones who claim to be the most about mercy and compassion are the first ones to talk about how evil universal health care is, or how bad it is to give welfare to people, or any of those type of things. And while I understand that there are other particular problems with these things that other people like to point out, that's not the main reason why people are against it. The main reason is because they feel personally inconvenienced, which cracks me up, because if you're supposed to be a religiously pious person, particularly in Christianity, personally inconvenienced by helping other people should not be part of your vocabulary if you truly believe in the doctrine that you're going around preaching. But anyway, me pointing that out, of course, gets people to get angry and say that, oh, how dare you disparage Christianity. I'm not disparaging Christianity. I'm disparaging the assholes who claim to be about it, but then go around and do the opposite. I think, though I have slipped up every now and then, but I think some people realize that it's the people I have the biggest problems with. While I will also admit that I don't agree with these religions, I also agree that people can worship whatever, path they want. My only concern is when they think that this path entitles them to infringe upon the lives of other people. That's where my biggest beef lies. It's with the assholes. The doctrine I also have beef with, but well, the one thing in a weird sort of way that kind of negates a lot of the negative doctrines is modern morality. When you've noticed the evolution of society and the way we treat each other, a lot of older customs in these religions simply don't fly anymore. And the only way these religions can continue to exist is if they co-opt, or, the newer morality, and make it their own, while at the same time kind of pushing to the side some of the more questionable aspects of their religion. The problem with that is, though, you got to do it very subtly, because if you do it a little bit too overtly, people are going to point out, hey, why are you shoving that to the side? If you guys are supposed to be such a true doctrine, why is this doctrine not being followed anymore? That must mean you must have made a mistake at the beginning, and if you made a mistake, you're not nearly as perfect as you want to claim you are, huh? So it's this interesting balance they got to do in order to survive. But that's the only way they can. That's what they have to do if their religion wants to continue going. And this is pretty much what Christianity, besides other religions, have done. They've co-opted modern philosophies and modern moralities, and they've made it their own. But here is the interesting point, and it's something that I've briefly brought up in this conversation that I had with this dude. In co-opting these modern ethics and modern viewpoints, they've sort of now acted like these particular precepts were part of their religion all along. And that's not true. And this needs to be pointed out. Seriously, it does. Because the amount of ignorance that goes on in this is staggering. And it's really beginning to get on my nerves as well as dishearten me when I'm looking at generation after generation of people who are walking around believing that somehow their religion was responsible for so many different advances in modern ethics and modern morality. And it's simply not true. In fact, you can even look at the way these religions are practiced today to see that they don't really coincide with a lot of modern morality. Ask any woman enlightened enough to see the difference between older customs and how women are treated and what happened after, post-feminism. There's a lot of traditions about how women were supposed to be treated or how they're supposed to be viewed, which you can see in religions practiced to this day that do not coincide with our modern viewpoints of how a woman should be treated or how she, should be seen. And these battles are still waged to this day. That's the interesting point. With equality for women and, being treated fairly, to not be seen as being stuck in a particular role in society. These sorts of things are battled on all the time, and interestingly enough, these things are battled on religious lines as well as social lines. We can, argue about how, no matter what religion it is, or just society itself, there are a lot of men who simply don't give women a fair shake. But you'll also see a lot of religious traditionalists talking about how, God says that women have to be this way and men are supposed to be this way. That's the way it's supposed to be in marriage. Women have a certain role in marriage and the man is supposed to lead the marriage. All this type of stuff you can see in religion. And it's not just old doctrines that used to be followed, but it goes on to this day. Where, even to this day, if you look at the so-called traditional Christian wedding vows, it still says in there, men are supposed to love and cherish their wives, and the women are supposed to serve and obey their husbands. It's clear cut. To this day it's being said there, but yet modern morality has a much more, liberal viewpoint on that. And like saying, women don't have to be stuck in a particular role. And there should be love and respect on both sides. And the whole obeying thing, is very, very questionable, to say the very least. But that's just one example. The thing that I'm trying to point out here, because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit in this video, is that religious people have to understand that modern concepts are not necessarily from their religion, even if it may look like it, even if there's the illusion of it. A great example to bring up, a very common example, is the whole American/Christian values thing, which is another pet peeve of mine, it just annoys me that I have to keep pointing this out over and over again. When you have so many people saying, America is founded by Judeo-Christian values, and it's like, bullshit. We can talk about the Treaty of Tripoli. We can talk about the differences between, religious thought and, American thought. We can go throughout history about what the Founding Fathers actually said about religion. But as I pointed out in another video, it's a lot simpler than that. Religions, particularly Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they're all about submission. Submission to a higher authority. And this higher authority dictates who gets to rule, and that whoever they pick to get to rule over the other people, whether it's a single person, i.e. like a monarchy or a dictatorship or something, or more like some type of council of elders or priests or whatever. This God says, these are the people who I've chosen because they're the most holy of the holy. They're the ones closest to me. They're sort of my avatars on this planet. They're my middlemen. They will tell you what to do because I'm going to tell them what to tell you what to do. And you have to listen to them or else. That's the way it's been. And this is how you got a lot of different, monarchies and certain systems where, you had a certain caste of people or a particular, a clear delineation of rank based on these religious precepts of who got appointed to rule. But then you get American politics where it's like, nah, the people decide who gets to fucking rule. We give the mandate, not some spirit on high. How the fuck do the two intertwine? And yeah, I'm cursing on this because it's absurd when you think about it. And it's amazing to me how the people who go around saying that, oh, this country's founded on these values, that doesn't cross their mind. Every Sunday they go into a particular church and it's stated how much you have to listen to what God says and that you can't think for yourself. God has to tell you what to do. You can't even exercise the so-called free will, which they talk about all the damn time. Oh, we have free will. But if you exercise the free will, most likely you're going to hell. You have to eschew your free will and do what God tells you to do. You can't pick shit on your own. So many times they constantly keep even coming up with that particular quote, do not lean on thy own understanding. Over and over they keep talking about how you can't depend on your own self. You can't depend on your own thinking. You can't, choose things for yourself. You have to pretty much do what God told you to do, and he has a list of shit that he wants you to do and what not to do, and you go by that. And then they got humans on this planet who are supposed to be your leaders who tell you to do that and enforce the rules. Then you have another country that basically says, no, we can come together and form our own freaking rules, and if we don't like certain leaders over us, we can kick them out and put other ones, and if need be, we can even violently rebel against these particular type of people who we don't like, how they're ruling things. And this newer system is somehow supposed to come from another system which is based on submission when our system was based on rebellion. I mean, seriously, what are you guys smoking? Those of you who are trying to marry the two philosophies together. Now, what's interesting about this is that this merging of this attempt to merge these two vastly different ways of seeing how to distribute power and how to rule. These two vastly different viewpoints didn't get married by accident. It wasn't just plain old stupidity that's caused this to constantly been said over and over again. This was carefully orchestrated. Well, okay, I got to be careful saying that because it makes it sound like some vast conspiracy. It's not that sinister, but it is sinister enough. There were people who thought about this. Anybody who wants to remain control over people, particularly when it comes to any form of government, knows that one of the best ways to keep people under control is to sort of turn whatever form of nationalism you have into a form of dogma. You have to give them a clear enemy to fight, and you have to sort of deify whatever particular values that particular country, champions. And you saw a lot of this come into play during the 50s, such as, making the God we trust motto into a national motto. The whole thing of you have to pledge allegiance, and marrying nationalism and patriotism with religion. This is something that was carefully put together and carefully done. It was attempted earlier than that, but it really started becoming a system unto itself after World War II. And it continued on and on until now you have generations of people who don't realize that the two are pretty much separate, and was separate for a reason. As much as we can go into the history of many of the founding fathers and find out that they weren't exactly as virtuous as many people want them to be, they themselves understood how dangerous it could be to set up a theocracy. They just escaped a government which, while it wasn't necessarily a theocracy, was still mired in a lot of religious politics, and they didn't want to deal with the same BS because they understood just how dangerous holy war squabbles can be. They got rid of all that shit. And now we got people who want to bring that back in because they don't understand the country's history, despite the fact that they're going around screaming about patriotism. To those who have a problem with me pointing that out, I seriously want you guys to consider, when has democracy, or when has even the idea of a republic, because now people are trying to turn around and, oh, it's not a democracy, it's a republic. Okay, fine. But when has these ideas of individual freedom ever been a religious mantra, particularly in terms of Christianity? When did, championing your individuality from the fold, when did claiming your own independence and making your own rules and saying that I can decide for myself how I want to live, when did that ever become a core part of your dogma? Can you please point that out? I'll help you out here and tell you that it's not in there. But go ahead if you don't want to believe me. Go and look at your religion and try to find any instance, especially in Christianity, where rebellion against powers that be and identifying your own spirit and being willing to challenge the status quo, even the status quo that is seen as benevolent. When has that ever been part of your religion? Oh, sure, you'll see rebellion against something that is considered evil, but it's only to then establish another rule that's also supposed to be absolute, and that has to be submitted to and can't change. The world of Satan is supposed to be overthrown by the kingdom of God, not the democracy of God, not the republic of God, but the kingdom. And when you guys, get your end of days, supposedly, it's supposed to be this new rulership and this new kingdom where everyone worships God forever and ever and will not have a choice in the matter. Where does individual freedom come in? Seriously, if nothing else, meditate on that question before you go around saying, oh, this country's founded by Judeo-Christian values. It's bullshit, and you need to stop deluding yourselves. Catch you guys later.